Hello and welcome to CivilNet. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Agemar de Mendonça Sanctos, the Ambassador of Brazil to Armenia. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for being with here today. I'd like to start off by asking you to say a few words about yourself. What does your position here in Armenia involve on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. It's a pleasure to be with you. It's a pleasure to talk to you and to talk about my job in Armenia, my mission in Armenia, because we have had a long relationship with Armenia, with Armenians specifically, that started back at the end of the 19th century when we had the first waves of Armenian immigrants to Brazil, and the Armenians in Brazil have always been very active. I mean, economically and politically, so much so that Brazil. I was just talking about that. Brazil in 1920 recognized the First Republic of Armenia. Just before it was absorbed in the Soviet Union. So, and then we came back again through the efforts of the Brazilian Armenian community when Armenia became independent for the second time in modern times. So, we have opened our embassy here in 2006, and I have the pleasure to be here. We've been here since the end of 2017, when we had the first Brazilian ministerial visit. The foreign minister of Brazil came to Armenia in November 2017, and we signed some agreements. We have some agreements with Armenia that are starting to come into force, like the education agreement, the Science and Technology Cooperation Agreement. We have some projects working with Armenia. So we have a very active cultural agenda in Armenia with concerts and Brazilian music is very easy to spread around. It's been a very active 2 years in Armenia, the number of Brazilian tourists to Armenia are increasing. So it's been very productive and very happy 2 years here in Armenia. And my wife, she loves Armenia. So as you know, happy wife, happy life. So, and we are thoroughly enjoying Armenia on a personal point of view. I mean, the food, the wine, and the people, especially the people, who are very, very nice people, very nice Armenian people. So I met the Armenians in Brazil. Before coming here, I met the Brazilian community in Armenia. We have not very large, it's about 100,000 Brazilians of Armenian origin, but very active. We have 4 Armenian churches in Brazil. I didn't know that. I met the leaders of those churches in Brazil. We have the Armenian Protestant Church, Armenian Evangelical Church, Armenian Catholic Church, and the Armenian Apostolic Church, which is they have all their their congregations in Brazil, and it was always a pleasure to know. I have my whole life in Brazil. I have seen many Armenian names around without knowing they were Armenians. There is a big construction company in Brazil called Bogosian Construction. I said, what this Bogosian comes from? And I realized that, and also banks, and I mean, many people, my colleagues in the Foreign Service, I had Ohanian and Sarkisian and Karmirian. And what is that? I mean, what is this Yan name? So I realized that my colleagues in the Foreign Service, later they told me, I thought they were, I didn't know they were Armenian. So, in my experience, they're all my friends. They're all my friends, my close friends. So when they offered me to be the Brazilian ambassador to Armenia, so I accepted gladly. It was, so far, I think I have made the right decision.
That's really wonderful to hear. So, as you're aware, Anna Hakobian, the wife of current Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, recently concluded a visit to Brazil where she met with Michelle Bolsonaro, the wife of current President Jair Bolsonaro. And this visit really demonstrates the rich history of connections between the countries that you just talked about. I was wondering if you could talk a bit more about the current programs that Brazil is implementing, cultural cooperation. I understand that there's some programs that are ongoing.
Yes, we have the visit of the Armenian First Lady to Brazil was a surprise. It came just like that, you know. It was, and it seemed by the press that the visit was very successful, which is very easy. Between Brazil and Armenia, everything goes easily. So. And they have. I found out that the two first ladies, they have very much in common. I mean, their social programs are very similar in helping young people and people with language, impairments and visual impairments. So it seems that everything went along very well. The visit was very successful. And as always, this relationship, everything that we do together with Armenia ends up well, in principle, because the level of friendship between our two countries, our two peoples. And we have now, this year, we are implementing for the first time the Brazilian Educational Cooperation Program. This Educational Cooperation Program is, the objective is to do an exchange program with Armenian college students between Armenian universities and Brazilian universities. So we have a number, and Armenia is one of the few countries of this region which is part of this program. And we are keen in implementing it. It was signed back in 2016, and was because in Brazil it takes a little longer for those agreements to be enforced, because it has to go to Congress. Everything that's related to the expenditure of public money has to be approved by the Brazilian Congress. So last year, through our efforts here and the efforts of the Armenian Embassy in Brazil, we managed the Brazilian Congress pass this legislation and approving the Armenia-Brazil Educational Cooperation Program. And we are starting this year, the first year, to promote this in Armenian secondary schools, so the interest in Armenian college, so the interest of Armenian students to go to Brazil too, because we have a large college students population in Brazil, and it would be different because there are some cases of Armenians who by themselves went to Brazil. So, but with the agreement in force, it's important because of the recognition of diplomas, the recognition of the courses that you do, the bilateral recognition of all so it makes it a lot easier. So, because before an Armenian student, he could even, if he wanted, some went to go to study in Brazil, but maybe the diploma wouldn't be recognized here. Maybe the subject, the matters that they went through in Brazil wouldn't be recognized. So now everything is in the law. So for us, it's a big advantage to start promoting, because this is the future. You send someone now, the millennials, as they say. So this will produce, usually it produces very, very solid results in the long term, because this is a generation that had the experience of living in another country, speaking the language, speaking Portuguese, and Brazilians learning Armenian too. So this is very important to us. I think that education is a basic thing. The other thing is being about to be hopefully approved by the Brazilian Congress is the Brazilian-Armenian Technical Cooperation Agreement. The Technical Cooperation Agreement is very important because we have a Brazilian cooperation agency that works in the same lines as the American aid Agents for International Development, is based in the same model. So we even have an Armenian desk at this agency, waiting for this agreement to be approved so that they can start working, promoting bilateral projects of cooperation in terms of agriculture or irrigation and anything that's related to the strengths of Brazil, also the strengths of Armenia, so because it's an exchange. We have had some experiences already here in Armenia that were very successful. One is to reduce the infant mortality rate in Armenia through a program of infant feeding from the first 5 years. For the first 5 years, it started back in 2013-14. So it's producing results now, and it's expanding in Armenia. It started by a Brazilian grant, a grant of this Brazilian international cooperation agency, and now the Armenian government took it over, and so it's spreading with the Brazilian experience in this area. And so it's I like to work with international cooperation projects because they sometimes they produce results that you don't even see. You are surprised that you see. I went to see the results of the two projects we started here a few years ago, and they are very successful because you start by planting a seed, and then it grows, and you don't know. Suddenly you have a tree. It's more or less this way it is. I had some experience in the past too, when I started with a cooperation program with an African country I was serving into, and and a few years later, I see 2 or 3 African students meeting me out in a shopping center in Brazil. Say, "Oh, Ambassador, thank you. We are here." I said, "Who are you?" "No, we are from you started." "Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Thank you." So it's very gratifying to sometimes to see this kind of result. Of course, we do the usual diplomacy too. I mean, the job of a diplomat, which is to negotiate, to represent, to inform, which is part of our is the basic stuff. But nowadays, you have. It has been expanded to promote trade, to promote cooperation, to promote culture, which is also very gratifying. I mean, personally for me.
That's wonderful. So I would like to talk a little bit about the economic relationship between Brazil and Armenia. Brazil's large consumer market would provide businesses and entrepreneurs here in Armenia with numerous opportunities, but the trade turnover between the two countries remains quite low. In your view, why is this the case? And as you understand the situation, where do you see opportunities to improve Brazilian-Armenian trade?
Well, when I arrived here back in 2017, I have some personal, professional experience in promoting trade. For 3 years, I worked for the Trade Promotion Agency in Brazil. And my first goal was to let's promote trade. So I organized a Brazilian trade mission that was very funny because this trade mission started the day the revolution started in Armenia in 2018. Was the first thing. And so luckily we had the event in a hotel outside Yerevan. So because Yerevan was in lockdown, I mean, nobody could get in or out of Yerevan. So, but we had the event was very successful, but you never know, when you organize a trade event, you don't really know the results until sometime in the future, because people, private citizens, private companies talking to each other, you never know what's going on. But what we try to do, because when you do those trade events, we in Brazil, our policy is to promote trade on to both sides, especially in the case of Armenia. So in the case of Armenia, we involved in this, the information technology sector, which is in Armenia is very strong. So, and we had a number of companies coming here. We have, because you cannot, because it's a service sector, you don't really know what goes on in terms of trade between IT companies. It's very hard. This is because this is virtual trade. But merchandise trade, we export about $30 million of especially food to Armenia, and we buy some garments and materials in general related to the garment industry. And, but this is not very much. So we export a lot to Armenia. I mean, the bilateral trade is like 95% of Brazilian exports and 5% of Armenian exports. But to increase the Armenian exports to Brazil is one of my goals here. It's, I've been talking to many businessmen here, many business people in Armenia, but it seems that there is, because Brazil is a faraway country, the logistical, aspects of the operation are challenging. So there is, in this case, too much interest of exporting. I was interested in sending Armenian wine and Armenian cognac to Brazil, which I like very much. So, but so far I have been unsuccessful because the region, especially the Eurasian Economic Union, absorbs most of Armenian exports. So, and then it's difficult for us to find, because as Armenia is compared to Brazil is a small market, you know, and the Armenian export offers also at the same size. So my project was to find niche markets in Brazil, like for Armenian cognac, or for Armenian wine, or for Armenian dried fruit, all the products that you have in your export offer here. And it was difficult because the logistics of sending all this to Brazil. The Armenian, of course, the Armenian community in Brazil would buy it gladly. It would be very easy, but we have to have a steady flow, so I put many Brazilian Armenians in contact with the Armenian business people here so that they would come here and discuss. But so far, I don't know, I haven't seen any results yet. I have tried, I've done my part, but when you talk about trade, sometimes it's difficult to see. Maybe in the future trade figures will change, but you never know because it's a private affairs of business people, so we don't know.
So moving forward, what are Brazil's main priorities in Armenia, and how do you see the relationship developing in the future?
I mean, the relationship between Brazil and Armenia could not be better. You know, it's we have we work together in multilateral forums like the United Nations, the European Union, everything that we can do to help Armenia, we do. We are promoting. We are the genocide, latest genocide resolution at the UN in Geneva. We are working to have it approved. So we have a very good relationship. Armenia always votes for Brazil. When I ask for votes in international forums, Armenia always helping us. We are always reciprocating. So in terms of bilateral relations, we have the goal. When I came here, is to promote Armenia in Brazil. So tell Brazilians about Armenia. Tell Armenians to come here, Brazilian Armenians to come here, because when I know that, before coming here, of course, I went to visit all the Armenian leadership in Brazil, all the leaders, community leaders in Brazil. And the first question, have you ever been to Armenia? Most of them said no. So my job, when I go to Brazil, when I meet the Armenians in Brazil, because I have to go every year to do some recycling, so and to talk to when I go to Brazil every end of the year, so I went to visit the community leader and tell them, look, you have to come to Armenia, you have to visit Armenia, you have to see your country, your people, and to promote Armenian culture in Brazil, to promote, because even though Armenia may have some, let's say, budget constraints, the Brazilian Armenian community is perfectly capable of financing all the initiatives possible that will be offered by the Armenian government. So by the Armenian society, so to speak. So and one of our aims was to promote Armenia in Brazil. Especially amongst the Armenian community in Brazil. And on the other hand, to promote specific projects in Armenia, like technical cooperation or educational. So far, I've been successful only in the educational side. I hope that this year we're going to be having the technical cooperation project in force. Of course, our political relationship couldn't be better. You know, our economic relationships, as I said before, so we are promoting the economic relationship, we're promoting, I mean, the Brazilian business in Armenia. I have to do that. It's part of my job description to promote Brazilian business. But at the same time, I also try to promote Armenian business in Brazil. I mean, to make the, I mean, to call the Armenian community to look to Armenia, to look to the Armenian market for investments, I mean, it's a new country, it's a country that is progressing very fast. I mean, it's a lot easier now to do business in Armenia. It's a much more open country. The political system is totally democratic. It makes it a lot easier. So Armenia is modernizing its laws, and I'm trying to attract Brazilians. We had some Brazilians who came here, some Brazilian Armenians, business people who came here last year, and they went around the country, they went looking for opportunities, but so far I haven't got any feedback, you know, because as I said before, business people, what they do, I don't know. Maybe in the future we're going to know what happened. So, but they came here. They were very, of course, it's a very nice country, very nice people, very good food. So they were very happy to be here. But I don't know in terms of deals what happened, in terms of business deals what happened. If they bought anything, if they're going to invest in anything, because Armenia needs a lot of foreign investment. So it is important that the Brazilian Armenian community is a source of investment. Because most of the Armenians I know in Brazil, they're involved in investment banking, so they know a lot of about investment.
Ambassador, thank you very much for your time today, and thank you very much for watching CivilNet.